Hey guys, this is Brian Townsend
and Isaac Barron.
We're back here for part 2 of Isaac's heads-up match against Love the WNBA, who is Isaac Haxton, who I guess this was filmed before the video, but did really well in
The
40K. Yeah, he final 2.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Not betting that river on the right is good. I mean,
yeah,
if you have the best hand, he'll call you a king high.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like a few times when I'm going to have the best hand and I'm not probably always getting left up.
Yeah. So there, you just wanted to avoid a 4-bet there with the ace-9?
Yeah, avoid a 4-bet, and also I do 3-bet it sometimes, but I feel like it plays kind of better, especially since it's suited. It plays a little better as this deep as just a calling hand, and you can just go from there. I feel like this deep it's going to be a little trickier to play out of position because you will flat with better aces a decent amount of the time, and when an ace flops, I'm not really going to know how to continue too often.
Mm-hmm. So things like ace-jack, ace-10,
yeah,
maybe even ace-queen, you might
slow
play, or even ace-king, you might say, well, if I 4-bet, he's folding all aces.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on the river? I mean, you basically have 2 options, check or bet.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some merit to both. I think that occasionally he will have like a king or maybe river 2-pair type hand that he will value bet, but I think that especially since he's caught me bluffing a few times and it's just all spades missed, and I think he's calling down a lot of hands that he won't even think about value betting. I think that betting is probably the best.
I think I would check raise because I think his range is pretty much a queen, a 7, or some missed spade, and I think he's going to fold all those spades if he has like the jack of spades,
right,
or the 10 of spades. And I think if he's got something like 5-6, he's obviously betting. I don't think he ever has jack 10 really, but I think there's enough missed spades in his range that I prefer to check raise to get value from those.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that he's bluffing them always, and I just think that he's just never betting queen type hands that he's going to pay off a lot on the river, and
yeah.
So I don't know.
So you think he'll check back all his queens?
I do. Yeah.
He'll always call here.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Let's be results oriented and see what happens.
Well, yeah.
It looks like your bet was definitely flush. That he's thinking this long.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about bluff raising, which, yeah.
So yeah, there you go. In that particular case. So you don't think he would have bet the river with queen 6?
I really doubt it, especially with our history. I mean, I think for some people he may consider it, but I have definitely used the check raise my fair share against him, and I do not think that I think that he's pretty wary of it, and I don't think he would have gone for a bet there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, see, he's definitely calling the flops.
If he had led that river, what I was just thinking was, if he had led that river, would you have called?
No, but because I just think that he is capable. I mean, he doesn't expect me to bet. He doesn't expect me to bet aces like all the time, just because he knows that I know that he loves floating these flops with ace high, and that I don't think that he like a lot of times. An ace would be a really likely card for me to bluff, just because it obviously hits my range a lot, but I don't think he expects me to bluff the ace very often at all, and so I just expect him to just go ahead and bet it out a lot of the time. Although it turns out that he rivered a really strong hand and didn't bet it out, so I could be wrong.
Yeah. See, my thought is, when he checks the river, you never have the best hands, and you could turn your hand into a bluff. But I think I don't think you should here. But I think the interesting part is if he leads the river. I think then you could consider a call.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would consider it. I don't know, though. I just...
Like, what do you think he's value betting? I mean, maybe a 9, but he check raises a lot of those. He's never value betting a 6. 10-8.
But, like, a 2-pair, ace-4,
yeah.
6-7.
There's some 6-7, ace-4, that's true, but I think a lot more of his range. I mean, think about this. If he's check calling with queen-jack high and a backdoor club draw, think how many other hands he has in his range that now on the river he's going to be forced to bluff with. Think of all his jack 10s, all his queen jacks, all his king, probably his king queen, but king 10s, stuff like, I guess the 7 hits a lot of the gutters that would have gotten there, but I think there's enough hands that he's check calling with that you should go ahead and call if he actually bet.
Yeah.
I would call. Because I don't think he's value betting very much, but 2-pair or better.
You don't think he would, if he doesn't expect me to bet an ace,
he'd value bet an ace.
Yeah.
But how many aces are in his range? I mean, he re-raises. I guess he didn't re-raise his ace jack, but a lot of the time he's raising his aces.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, but this session, I mean, has he ever re-raised me?
At all? That's true.
Like we were saying in the video before, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just decided that this session he's going to call every single hand that he's continuing with, and even pocket aces.
I think I would, if he led the river though, I definitely like calling. And how deep would you have to be where you're obviously ace king, even if he's this depth you'd get it in? How deep would you have to be where you'd start folding ace queen? You said you'd get it in for 200
Yeah,
blinds.
I don't think I would get it in. I would definitely proceed more cautiously with it, and with this deep, probably if he 4-bet, probably just go ahead and call and proceed from there.
Yeah.
I think even versus I would consider it ambitious.
I agree. So here when you bet the turn,
I guess it's kind of like a value bluff, because I do expect to be called by worse a fair portion of the time, but I also have outs to get there against hands that are better than mine, so I kind of just think it's a good way to mix it up.
Yeah, I think it's fine to mix it up there. I think betting and checking are both fine. I don't think you're getting check raised all that often, and I think it's fine. And yeah, I think easy checking maybe. So you're continuing by checking back a lot of flops.
Yeah, and also I think this is a spot where it's just it works out to my advantage, because he doesn't expect me to check back very many kings, so he's just forced to pay off like pretty much all like pair type hands, and I just think that just as a balancing thing, checking back here works to my advantage. Although I could go for 3 streets of value also.
Yeah, I think it's close. It'd be interesting to see what he had.
And against that hand, I probably could get 3 streets of value.
Yeah. But then sometimes you value time yourself when you've got king 9 or whatever.
Right.
Seems pretty standard raise here, this deep.
Yeah.
What do you think he's... I mean, this is the first time he's donked. What do you think he donks with?
I think...
Rando stuff?
A lot of random stuff. 2-pair type hands, maybe just random nut flush draw type stuff that he doesn't feel like check raising. And maybe...
You mean like the ace of hearts?
Yeah,
yeah. Just a dry ace of hearts. Not... He wouldn't lead with the nut flush. What do you
No. Okay. Like straights, and I think yes.
So straights, 2-pair, Jack-10 maybe. I don't know.
And also just like really like weak draws that he doesn't plan on continuing with also. But it turns out like after he calls the turn, I don't even know if it's good to bet the turn, to be honest, after he calls the flop, because I feel like when the turn breaks off like that, after like if he's gonna just lead the flop and he has like some sort of weak hand that he's just gonna lead fold the flop, but once he lead calls, I think a lot of the time he's planning on continuing with the hand pretty much all the way as long as it breaks off. So I think that my turn bet might not have been very good.
Yeah, it's like one of those tough spots where you have so much equity and you're not getting check raised too much that it's like, who cares? I'll just bet because it doesn't matter much. But then you're right. I don't think he's folding very often.
Yeah.
But because you do have so much equity, I don't think it matters much if he folds or not. So I would probably still just bet it just because it doesn't matter much. But yeah, I think checking is reasonable. Here you flat with ace queen. Just mixing it up.
Yeah.
Seems like he is checking back a lot of these ace queen, ace king type flops against you, which is kind of surprising. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it didn't work out. I think I might go for the triple here.
Wow.
Don't think it works too well. And that's I guess pretty big owners, I guess, to not get any value out of middle pair there.
Yeah.
So kind of unfortunate, but
it's poker.
Yeah.
I think it's fine trying to check raise all streets.
Yeah, and he does this weird stuff where he's just like, that's really small on the flop. On ace high flops, ace high flops.
It's not a bad,
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, he likes to like try out a bunch of new stuff. So I just kind of felt like giving a little resistance.
Yeah. And the problem is though, you're repping so few hands. You don't defend ace deuce. He might not know that.
Yeah.
You re-raise eights probably, but maybe sometimes you flat. But really, all you're repping is like.
Well, but I could have. I think he knows that I could have random ace X
queen. I guess you could have
ace X suited, because I wouldn't defend ace deuce suited.
That's true, suited.
So.
And you could have ace queen some percentage of the time.
Yeah. And I feel like he's just floating, and just so often that I think the barrel's good, but.
Surprised you raised that much. I guess it's not that big.
It's over pot.
Wow. Yeah, that is a really big raise actually. His pot is.
Pot's like
12.
40, yeah.
12 plus 1,022. Yeah. And he made it 28. Really large raise.
So over here I got lucky. The flop and turn.
So why did you decide to bluff that turn? What were you trying to get him fold that was a better hand?
I guess just a random 3, although looking back on it, it's probably not very likely. And yeah, I guess there's definitely a lot of merit, because I do have the best hand some percentage of the time, and yeah, I guess it's probably not too great to barrel there when I'm probably getting called by all better hands and folds from worse.
I would probably check that turn and decide if I wanted to call a river bet on certain rivers against him, because we've seen him fold so much. And obviously that's a nice river. Sometimes you look like a genius. Yeah. So here, you're basically, obviously you have two options. It's, in my mind, you can either get 3 streets of value versus smaller pair, or you can check and probably give up against what quoted you was most likely ace high. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I just think that ace high is definitely, obviously, a big part of his range, but I mean, smaller pairs and 4-5 suited type stuff is just as big a part of his range that, and he just expects me to barrel this ace like so often that I feel like it's a really good spot to get 3 streets of value, or at least 2.
Because he thinks any hand, like your 10-4 whatever, or 10-5 suited, you're always bluffing this, which is probably true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
I was kind of surprised, to be honest, there. I thought that he was going to call and just snap folded, so I guess he just didn't think that, I guess he thought that my turn bluffing frequency was a lot higher than my river bluffing frequency.
It's interesting.
Which I don't think is the case, but...
Or maybe he had something that he
could have just
floated the flop,
and
picked
flush draw or something.
Flush draw or a gutter. Maybe he had some random 3 or 5.
Yeah.
Wanted to see what you did on the river.
Yeah, and see, this is like what I'm talking about. He's really just, like, he goes in these modes where he just does not re-raise any hands pre-flop. And in this video, it looks like he's in one of those modes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what do you check calling these rivers with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just going there just off game flow, and I feel like a lot of times, probably more often than I'm check folding, I'm check calling there with the ace high. I guess I just felt for some reason, can't really explain why, that he had rivered an 8 or had some sort of small pair that he was trying to value time me with. But yeah, I think most often I'm going to be check calling there with my ace high, and probably not the greatest to just check fold there. Especially against him.
A lot of queens and stuff that he decides to put a little bluff in. We've seen him do. Interesting. So because you've been just calling a lot, you opted to slow play?
Kind of try and trap a little bit, but I don't know. And also just because I feel like he just folds so often to re-raises, and just, I don't know, I think there's a decent amount of value in just trying to, maybe flop an overpair and disguise my hand a lot.
So I think this hand on the left is pretty interesting, especially with the dynamic where you tried the trifecta whiff with that ace-queen.
Right.
What do you think he puts you on when he does his turn?
I think he puts me on a 4 sometimes, King X, and then lots of draws, and sometimes random bluffs.
What do you think he has?
I think that he has 4s a decent amount of the time, and then like random, like ace queen maybe, or ace jack type hands a decent amount, and some flush draws that maybe he decided not to bet. So I was planning on probably check calling, but that river, it's just so brutal for my hand.
Yeah. Well, let's think about it. When you bet the turn, when you lead the turn, what's he going to be thinking? I mean, he might be kind of one level ahead, but I mean, I think you're right. He is going to put you on a lot of those kings, some 4s, but probably you would re-raise the turn with a lot of your 4s, or you might. And there is always the problem where he might value timing with an ace.
Yeah, I think that if he does have an ace here, I think that he's definitely going to bet it. I just don't think he ever really puts me on a flush draw.
Yeah. See, that's the problem though. If he doesn't put you on a flush draw, All he can put you on is a king. It's such a good card to try to move you off a king.
It
I'd
is,
probably just go ahead and shut my eyes and call here.
Yeah, I don't really remember what I know I tanked for a really long time.
It's a tough spot. Because he's betting all his fours.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta have him have like queen 9 off him and that.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I know I wanted to call. I think I hovered over the call for it, and I ended up folding. But yeah, it's just a really close spot, and I mean, I don't really even think there's like a right answer. It's
Yeah,
just kinda,
I can agree with that. It's a brutal river.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a river where he's gonna bluff it all the time because he never puts you on a flush draw.
No, and he obviously doesn't put me on a queen jack or anything like that.
Yeah. So, I think I would have gone ahead and bet that flop.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many hands to get value from.
I think, to be honest, I kind of fell into a little bit of a mode where I was just checking way too many flops, which is not really my standard at all, and especially against him. And like I said before, I think I said I really wasn't too happy with how I played in this video, and I think there have been some sessions against Ike that I've played very, very well, and then there's just some sessions where he's gotten the better of me, and this happened to be one of them.
Value bet there on the right. I think very standard, but
good
to do. Yeah, I think you're right, and nobody plays the best. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's
poker.
Yeah. And I also think that he played pretty well this session. Seems like he's made some hands, and he's also played really tough, which he usually does. But he will have his occasional session where he's a little off too.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally. Why no turn bet there on the right? You felt like he was calling with all kings and stuff.
Yeah, I felt like he was calling with a lot of. I just didn't feel like he was going to check and give up that flop too often, although obviously I was wrong. I mean, although he might even call with that.
But I'm sure he would have called the turn. You would have had to.
Oh, but yeah, but he didn't have the pair on the flop.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just didn't feel like he was giving up too often, and I just kind of felt like maybe trying to get a cheap river and trying to hit my card.
Yeah, I think on the left I mean, he's not really folding too much better, but he's got so many queen jack, jack 10 that you gotta bet that.
Yeah, especially when I pick up the draw.
Tough river.
Yeah. I definitely think that I was going to bet most rivers, but that just seemed like a river that hit a lot of his hands. Just like so many of the hands that I'm beating just got there.
And it makes him fold a lot of hands that...
Yeah, because it looks like...
It's tough for him to call there with, like... what's he going to do with 8 jack there,
Yeah, definitely.
So that could be cool. I'm really shocked though how passive he's playing. Or he's not playing passive, but the lack of re-raising by him. I would have thought he'd be re-raising just 25% of hands non-stop.
Yeah, like I said, we've had sessions where like it's been 4-bet, 3-bet, 4-bet every single hand, and then there's just sessions. I mean, it's almost like he's like manic almost.
Yeah.
There's just some sessions where he's just plays like this and just decides to just never 3-bet any of his hands. And I mean, it's definitely something that can throw you off if you're not looking for it.
Yeah, it could really be tricky. What do you think about the right?
It went bet, call, and then check, right?
Check on the turn.
I think that it's definitely a spot where I should probably be paying off just because, I mean, he never really expects me to have too strong of a hand. He never expects me to really have an ace or two pair. And, I mean, like you've seen, he's floating so often on these flops that I feel like it's probably a spot where I should pay off.
I think so. I mean, well, let's think about his hands that he can have. Obviously, any ace. Probably value bets good tens, like king 10, queen 10. Probably not too many sixes.
No, I don't think so.
But, so if you think his range is any ace, any 10, to counter that, the things that we're ahead of are any diamond, any king, queen, queen, jack, any 7-8, any 9-8.
Yeah.
Plus whatever other random stuff, non-gutters, 9-7s even.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of gutters there that he could have check called with. So I think I would go ahead and call here, and I'd be pretty happy about calling, actually.
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, my timing was just a little off this session. Just kind of made the bad call over there, and then probably the bad fold over here. But you know, it happens.
It's nothing to bash yourself up over. And it's interesting how much he's folding to our 3-bets. I would really start attacking him a lot, and obviously he's eventually going to adjust. But
yeah.
And I would go ahead and start opening every button. If he's not going to 3-bet, I just think there's so much value in raising every single button.
Yeah, I agree, and it's definitely I feel like a fine line because eventually it'll start to catch on, but at the same time, it's definitely something that 3-betting for sure is something that I do definitely usually do a lot more of when I have this session. Because he opens every single button like we've seen and just folds to a ton of 3-bets. So it's definitely something that I should be doing more of.
Would you call on the left with an ace?
Probably.
I don't know what he's like. I've just found generally people don't bluff there ever or often enough, but I don't know. I obviously could.
I think that he's probably bluffing there pretty close to enough, if not enough, to where it's just, especially since it's just good to pay him off just so he doesn't get too too overzealous with those things. And I think it's definitely, if he's not bluffing enough, he's bluffing almost enough to where you can probably make a call.
Cool. So yeah, I would open 8-4 there against him and do 6. I would just open everything. I mean, if you're not getting 3-bet with position, I just think you just can open everything, and he's folding enough. And what about also implementing min raises into your game? Have you thought of that?
Yeah, I actually have done it a little bit against him, and I don't. It's just something that for me, it just, I don't know. It's just it just doesn't work that well with my game. I guess I just prefer the 3x. It's just how I've always played, and a min raising, it just kind of changes the dynamic in a little bit of a way that.
I don't think there's any reason to min raise. I think min raising is a good strategy against really aggressive players, but against somebody who's not 3-betting you at all, I think you should be
just 3xing
it.
Yeah, and I think he just 3-bet over here, and I think that he might. Might be the point of the match where he just starts going nuts with it. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. I might be thinking of a different session, but I know that there, like a lot of the times, he'll be doing this where he just never 3-bets, and then he'll just start going nuts with it, just to, I guess,
see how you adjust. Yeah, that's probably a very good strategy on his part. I've never experimented too much with it, but
he definitely is, like, by far the most unique, like, regular that I've ever played, which is definitely, which is a huge compliment, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this turn bet. There's so many ace highs that he check calls with, or king queens and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the river. I think you value time yourself too much.
Yeah, I think that's.
I am shocked though how passive he's played, like on the turn and stuff, not bluff raising much with his like you know,
Yeah,
like not putting in a raise anyway with that hand. I guess I'm just surprised.
Yeah, I agree, and it's just like I was saying, it's almost like he's manic a lot of the times, which is just it's really tough because he'll just randomly be playing passive, and then he'll mix in those huge over bets just in like really random spots, and then just do a lot of like bluff raising in weird spots that you never would expect him to, and just a lot of really different type stuff that not a lot of people, if anybody, are really experimenting with.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe this is just one of those sessions where it's kind of tired and sleepy.
Yeah, it could be.
That happens a lot. So there again, it's interesting to note what he didn't lead on the turn with. And although it looks like an uninteresting hand and like he kind of passed it over the first time here on the left on this King-Jack hand.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not betting this turn with a 10, like when he bets this turn, he's got 2 pair or a flush. I mean, that's such a small part of his range that I think it's something that we need to identify. And like before, before when we saw that other hand where he didn't bet Queen Jack with when the 9 pair. I mean, here it's like, what's he really value betting the turn with? Like
he's just betting his flush draws and his maybe really, really, really strong hands.
Yeah, and that's when people are polarizing their betting like that. You can really take advantage and start calling down really lightly and stuff, or bluff raising a lot on the turn.
Definitely.
So I think I would note that. And although he's not playing passive, he's folding to a lot of your 3 bets.
Yeah.
I think you got to 4-bet ace jack, even though it sucks to get 4-bet.
Yeah.
I think you just got to go ahead and.
Yeah, I mean, my standard is for sure to 3-bet there, and like I said, I feel like I'm a little bit thrown off at this point. I'm definitely not playing the A game, which I'm definitely not sure why I'm doing this. I really don't know what my thought process was here. To be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. So here on the right, you probably don't have the best hand, but this is another interesting thing to note. I mean, look at what he's checking behind here. Yeah, we both don't like the left, but look at, he's not value betting an 8, King 8 on that board. Like, you could call his river bet with your 3s because he's got so many Queen Jacks, King Queens, Ace 9, whatever it is. Like, so this is worth noting that his range on the river for betting is so odd that you can go ahead and make a lot of hero calls against him.
Yeah,
so like when you had that 9-3 suited on the Ace-10 board, I definitely would have hero called there.
Yeah,
and I think you should be looking to bet a lot of flops, check turns back, and make a lot of hero calls. Because you don't actually want him to fold those Queen Jack hands. You want to let him bluff you and put more money into the pot. So there you got, obviously.
It's just not
one of your finer moments. No.
None of this session really has been any of my finer
But
moments.
this is like real life poker. I mean, nobody's playing their best the whole time. And, I mean, if you did, you'd be 10 times the player you are, but nobody can, and that's just kind of dealing with that as part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. It happens.
Yep. So like here, you think of his check calling range. Now, obviously, you don't have the best hand in checks, but you're doing fine. But if his check calling range is that wide, you could consider bluff raising a lot of rivers, I think, against him too, if you don't have a hand that has a showdown value. So he's been 3-betting so infrequently. Why'd you call with Queen 8 off or suited?
I guess part because we're really deep, and then part because probably I'm tilted, and I don't know. I end up putting in a raise just because I feel like from our past history, like his sizing, although he does balance it, it's very rarely, I think, a really strong hand, and I think he's just trying to look really strong here, and it ends up working. It could just be, being results oriented or getting lucky that I ran into the bottom of his range, but I feel like that in that spot, he's just trying to look strong, and is really rarely ever that strong.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think he knows he's been 3-betting so infrequently. In this board, if somebody used only 3 bets, like 3% of hands, this board obviously is crushing it. But he knows that, and I think he would slow play with a lot of his big pairs and stuff. So I do really like your bluff raise there, actually, even though it's kind of crazy because he's been re-raising so infrequently. But yeah, it's a good spot. And again, he's followed with that third pot or whatever bet
on the random ace on the ace high raggedy boards.
And here I like this. I think you should be 3-betting him more until he adjusts.
Yeah.
He's just folding way too much. And you're right, he is opening every button, like you said in the first video. I just think you should open every button and you should be re-raising with like 20 to 25% of hands until he adjusts to that. And, you know, of course he would.
Yeah.
Because he's a good player, but maybe he's tired and tilted and having a bad day and, like, you know, all those things. So he might just not be.
Yeah, I definitely think the way I did not adjust nearly as good as I should have this session.
So the way he's been playing, would you be happy getting in with ace king?
I mean, I wouldn't be, you know, fist pumping or whatever, but I still think against him it's still a spot where I'm reasonably happy to get it in, just because he is capable of, you know, even though he has been playing like overly passive and not doing anything too crazy, he's still, you know, capable of a lot. And these games obviously has heads up.
Such a strong hand. Yeah.
May finally start 3-betting eventually. I don't know if it's because I'm adjusting or because I'm tilted or maybe a little bit of both, but I'd finally start 3-betting a little bit wider.
And I really like the left. You obviously have the barrel there with all that equity and the fact that he has queen jack.
Queen high,
yeah. So there, you know, with the way the game's been playing, I would just 3-bet the eights, you know? It's like, there are some cases for calling it, but I think you should just go ahead and get value. So, think about this hand now on the left. What have we watched his play that might make another option be reasonable?
I mean, definitely, obviously, his, from what we've seen, his turn betting after me checking behind the flop has been really polarized to weak hands and really strong hands. So I guess a bluff raise, well, I guess we're not repping a whole lot. It'd be pretty tough for him to continue if he's bluffing himself.
Agreed. I would have bluff raised the turn there, and now I would bluff raise this river.
Yeah.
Because I just think he's got a 10, and he might not even do this with all 10s, the way he's been playing, but, you know, probably any 10 or a ton of bluffs.
Right.
And I just think it's insanely profitable. I probably just would have raised the turn, but now raising is totally...
Yeah, I think raising the turn is definitely better than raising the river, but definitely I think both are probably very viable options.
Yeah. Think there's any merit in betting the turn for value against like king or queen high?
Yeah, I do, but I also don't think that although he may call it sometimes, I don't think he expects me, because he never expects me to think that he's folding out, that I'm gonna fold out like, you know, king high or even queen high because and obviously I just don't think it's a spot where he thinks I'm bluffing all that often. So I just wouldn't expect to get looked up all that light, but at the same time he probably wouldn't fold king high.
Yeah, and I'm going back because I think this is a really interesting bet that he opted to make on the river. I mean, obviously he's trying to bluff you off a chop here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting bet too. And I don't know. I guess bluffing me off a chop, maybe getting me to fold ace high, but that just seems so ambitious that for me to ever fold ace high there just seems.
Yeah, but still probably worth it for him to do the chop. So
yeah.
So there with the 4-9, I think I would just start attacking until I felt him. And obviously he's going to adjust, but he might not even adjust this session if he's tired or, so many other things that go into how somebody's playing.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of the time I am just really attacking his opens, especially when we're less deep. Not that I shouldn't be this deep, but it just handcuffs him so much more when he's opening 100% of buttons. When we're only 100 big blinds effective, it just
makes it harder for him to fold that bluff.
Right.
And I mean, he's folding to so many 3-bets that I just think you're just going to show such a profit by 3-betting and playing pretty fit or fold post-bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this turn check on the left. I think it's pretty clear that he'd be betting out with some bluffs and check calling with other hands. Is this like pretend like you hit a 6 or had an 8?
Yeah. It didn't work. Whatever I was pretending, he wasn't buying.
Yeah. Well, this has been a very interesting match. It's been about 45 minutes, so we got to wrap it up here. But thanks for doing this. This is a very, very good, aggressive match.
I appreciate it, and I wish I could have played better, but I think this might even make for a better video. Of
course. So. I think your play was very realistic to everything,
Yeah.
So, and it was interesting. He had that same line again where he check called the top pair. So it's just interesting to note how polarized his ranges are there. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this 2-part series. This was Brian Townsend.
And Isaac Barron.
See you guys later.
Thanks.